Hey, everybody, welcome. Today is Wednesday, June 5th. Oh, my goodness, it's June already. How could that be? Welcome. As always, I have Tracy and Amanda here with me. Good to see both of you. A little hard to believe we're into June, isn't it?
Yeah, we just talked about that in group coaching. It's wild because now it starts to feel really real for people. But I think it's important to remember there's still a lot of time.
There is. Bar exam is like dog days. They go very slowly, and people think that it takes the imminent that we hit June and all of a sudden the exam is here, but in fact it's not. And one test of that is go back 60 days to which would have put us at what, to the beginning of April. And you think about where you were in your studies 60 days ago, that seems like a long way away. And yet, when we look forwards, it seems like it's right on top of us. There's some strange thing that happens with our brains, I think. So, in any event, we're going to talk a little bit about coaching and some of the options and things that are going on today. But we just want to start by just saying you have enough time. This is the time to get underway. So, that's going to be our theme today. We've got some announcements, some things we want to share with you that are going on here at Celebration Bar Review, as well as in the bar exam world. And then we're going to take some student questions. And Tracy, you're going to talk about a lunchbox, I believe, today.
Your lunchbox.
Okay, that should be fun. Always interesting to see what's in the lunchbox. So there you go. Let me begin with just a kind of an interesting piece. I got an email this week from an organization called feedspot.com. And they indicated and told us that the extra mile for bar exam takers was awarded as one of the top 20 exam-related podcasts on the internet, and one of only 2 bar review podcasts to make the list of top 20. So, yay us. So that was fun
That's
and
cool.
exciting. If you want to check that out, you can go to blog.feedspot.com, exam podcasts. We appreciate their recognition of the work we're doing. This is actually episode 471 or something. I've been doing this a long time, before Amanda was born, probably. And we appreciate all of you that watch and listen, and certainly those of you that come on live. We're glad to have you with us as well. But if you are a first-time listener or watcher of the podcast, welcome. We try to cover every week the important stories in the bar review industry, as well as talking about some things that we think are important. So, having said that, I do want to talk, Tracy, I know you've been watching the next gen exams. We had a fairly major announcement this last week with the state of Illinois deciding to jump into the next gen, correct?
Yes, in July of 2028 would be their first administration. This is very interesting and very important because Illinois, as Jackson says, is the first big state to jump on board the next gen train. And we were really holding back, waiting to see what was going to happen. Now, what will be interesting, Jackson and Amanda, I think, is to see what happens with these other big states. Will they fall now in line too and get on next gen because Illinois did? Or will they continue to either remain silent or decide to do their own thing? We talked last week about how California is really suffering financially as it relates to their bar exam expenses. And this is a way that some of the states might alleviate a lot of that problem. It'll be very fascinating to see what happens this summer now. Illinois has said yes.
Yeah, I think it really will. And I'm curious to see what happens with Illinois making this decision. Does that start to move Texas and New York? We know that there's going to be a divorce between California and the NCBE. Presumably, Nevada will follow California. I think we can be pretty well assured that Florida is going to divorce the NCBE, maybe Georgia as well. So we're really starting to look at this schism coming up. And I thought the timing of Illinois' decision to say we're going to do the next gen, but we're going to wait till the very back end, that July 2028. I continue to have a strong sense NCBE simply will not be ready when they think that they're going to be ready for this. We're just getting the very first pieces of information back. In fact, NCBE released a report this week of the first samples that they're doing, but the sample sizes are so small. They're just very difficult to know if they're really psychometrically stable. Can you justify the questions and the approach? Are they trustworthy? And that's going to take a long time and a lot of work. I think it's a pretty ambitious schedule that they're talking about. On the other hand, if California really does want to divorce the NCBE in February of 2025, that's ambitious, right? We're still waiting to hear what's going to happen there. Still waiting to see if this Kaplan proposal goes through. So a lot of uncertainty, and I'm really curious to see where we go. But Illinois' decision was, I think that was probably one they were pretty happy about in Madison. I think they're like, oh yeah, we got a big one. All right. So that's what we got going on. I guess we would just repeat our admonition that if you are registered to take the July 2024 exam anywhere in the country, you're probably better off taking that exam than waiting until February 2025, because there's going to be some uncertainty, definitely in California, maybe some other states. So something to keep in mind. Wanted also to just let people know, we have just gotten the released essays and performance tests from the National Conference of Bar Examiners. We are licensed to have all of those questions and answers, and they don't release them until very late in this particular summer season. But we've just gotten them. We're going to put the questions into the books right away. We're working on answers. That takes obviously a bit more time, but we will have the questions there in the materials. So if you're in our course, you should be looking for those in the next week or so. Certainly for the UBE and for Florida, it takes a little bit longer in California and Georgia, but we are working on those as well. We see the answers from people before we see the questions in some cases, certainly in the UBE. And questions were actually pretty fair this year. I was pretty happy with that. Even in Florida, which has a tendency for really nasty questions, they weren't so bad. And I thought California was marginally okay. Georgia, not so much, but that's just how it goes there. They're just a tough state. That is where we stand on essays and questions. We're going to get to a student question about essays, but I'll just say this. There are hundreds and hundreds of essays in our course for every exam, Georgia, California, Florida, and the UBE. So you're not going to be missing out on anything. Amanda, I know you have fun when you're drafting these answers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good example of how we want students to write, because as we know, and I often coach students, they're like, I read the answer key when I didn't get everything, which is not the same as like a model answer that we would suggest. So it's a good time to remind that if you're looking in the book, make sure you're looking at the model answers, the ones that are written in FLA format. It's nice to look at the answer key too, but don't think that's a model answer, because it's not. That's why we want to draft them for you.
Model answers are not the same as sample answers, and they're not the same as draft or point sheets.
Yeah.
And I'll remind our audience of something we said a couple of weeks ago, which I thought was really interesting. The examiners are going to absolute grading coming up on the multi-state essay exam, which will take out some of the local disparities in grading. You can have the same question on the UBE you do all across the country, but in New York, and they might grade your answer very differently than the Utah examiner. And so the NCBE is actually going to put some controls there. And I think, Tracy, they have to do that in anticipation of next gen, don't you? They can't be using regional grading for next gen. I just don't see how that works.
Yeah, I think you're right. So it's going to be discretionary. When you're testing on things like client interviewing, law office management, how are you going to come up with steady grading for that? Uniform.
Well, that is, the NCBE very proudly announced their first set of tests that they ran, but they're not anywhere near where they need to be, and they're not in these areas that you discuss. So we're just taking little tiny baby steps here, and we're announcing it as though we're taking giant leaps, and it's really not. So just be aware. There's a lot of posturing going on, not necessarily to the bar exam taker audience, but to the law schools and the other bar examiners around the country. So we don't really have a dog in this fight. We're just watching, and it's fascinating. Oh, all right. I want to turn our attention for a minute to a couple of things that we are doing at Celebration Bar Review to help students get ready for certainly the July 2024 exam and beyond. One of the things that we came up with was what we called Level Up Day, and that will be Saturday, June 15th. If you're not familiar with this, what we're going to do is that Tracy and I are hosting very small, 1 to 3 people per hour to work on very specific targeted work. So the way that this works is that you sign up for anywhere from 1 to 8 blocks on that day. It'll be done virtually, and you'll be in a Zoom call with me or with Tracy, maybe by yourself, maybe with 1 or 2 other people, but we're limiting the total to 3 people per hour.
Your fellow students are signing up for these slots, and we don't have a whole lot of them at this point. You're going to narrow in on MBE practice, for example. Jackson's going to work on an MPT, and I'm going to work on your essays, your time management, and your mind mapping. He can work with you on photo reading.
So the way that this works is each block costs $100. And again, you can sign up for all of them or 1 or 2. And we do have people signing up, as you see, to join us. Now, I'm going to put the link in there. I will copy that link and you can order those. And the other thing to say about this is that you can also pay over time, which I thought was cool. You can use the buy now, pay later. There it is. You can pay a few dollars a month, depending on how many hours you're doing. So this is going to be Saturday, June 15th. When we close out each block, then it will no longer be available for order. So I would encourage all of you to jump in now and get that time. I think the ability to have 1-on-1, 1-on-2, maybe 1-on-3 at most is unusual. We don't normally offer that. And so this is a pretty affordable way to get your opportunity to level up. The other thing we'll tell you is that there will not be another level up scheduled between or after this time and the July exam. So this is your one shot to get it. Am I missing anything there, Tracy?
The only other thing is that you can sign up for as many of these slots as you want. You can pay for all 8 if you want. Jackson in the morning, me in the afternoon. You can pick and choose, and that's why we set it up this way. So if you're getting to this point now, it's June 15th, and you think, wow, I'm really not as strong as I think I should be on my MPT writing, for example, you can jump in until the day before, really, and we'll send out a Zoom link to anybody who has signed up. Yeah, take advantage of these. These are hot sales.
Yeah, I think they are. It's something we've not done specifically, but I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to having that kind of close interaction that it's hard to get when we're at boot camp, whether it's live or virtual. We hope you'll join us for Level Up Day. If you have any questions, just reach out and let us know. The other thing we wanted to talk about, you might remember a few weeks ago, we offered a special of coaching calls. You could do 5 coaching calls with either Tracy or myself, and it was at a steeply discounted price. And many of you took us up on that. But then, of course, as always happened, as soon as we closed the doors on that, people said, oh, I really wanted that. Could I get into it? The normal fee for these 5 calls would be $1,000. We decided that for this week and this week only, we're calling it 5 for 5. You can get 5 calls for $500, and you can choose to pay over time, which is, again, pretty cool way to do it, either with Klarna and Firm and Afterpay, or we'll charge you over 5 months ourselves. With these 5 calls, we're adding Amanda to the mix, which we're pretty excited about. Before, we didn't have the opportunity to have you in, but now we do. And maybe, Amanda, you could talk just a little bit about what the value is of doing personal coaching at this stage. Is 5 calls worthwhile to people, do you think?
And I think it's definitely worthwhile. We've had people that have gotten, like, in exams prior, like some scholarships or sponsored calls, and they had 5 at the very end, and I saw them come a really long way. It's all about you taking it seriously, buckling down, and I think nothing can really replace that. There's definitely even time for, like, a 10-call package. I've done calls twice a week with students, like Wednesdays and Saturdays or Wednesdays and Sundays. It's just about you having the time to do the work in between the sessions. And if you're all studying right now, some of the best ways that you can spend your time is by practicing and getting the feedback, practicing, integrating the feedback, and just rinse and repeat that. So I think it's really valuable. And it's great that the 5 calls are discounted for everybody.
Cut the price in half, and you can choose the mentor you want to work with. You can work with Amanda, you can work with Tracy, you can work with me. It's completely up to you. These are 30-minute Zoom calls. They're one-on-one. We record them so you can go back and review them later. We'll cover MPTs as well as essays in any jurisdiction. But I use one of these sessions to talk about multi-states. The answer is yes, of course. We're glad to work with you. And mind maps, whatever you want to do. Right. Yeah. So I put the link in the chat box to order. If you want to use our payment plan, it's 5 payments of $110 a month, so very affordable. Stretches it out beyond the exam day. Same is true, though, with Klarna and Affirm. So you can do it that way, or you can just pay upfront and save the extra fee.
I think we're taking that offer till next Wednesday.
Okay, so a week from today, pick your mentor, but one of us, we all enjoy doing this. This is the fun part for us as teachers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great working one-on-one. I love the groups as well, but I love seeing the progress. I just love
Yeah.
seeing the students starting in one spot and building and building. We really take it step by step. I know everyone has a little bit of their own style, but I think all of us, even Jackson, I remember working with you. You're like, all right, when I say 2 to 3 sentences in the fact paragraph, that's what I mean, 2 to 3 sentences. And I practiced writing that for a while. And then we worked
Yeah.
into the law paragraph and just seeing
Yeah.
build from there till eventually you get a really good, complete essay and students can repeat it over and over again.
And it's the continuity. That's why we like the 5 calls. You just need some continuity. It's hard to do that with less than that. And so that's what we're really trying to get as an opportunity for people. So if you haven't added 5 calls, this is your chance to do it. If you've already got an 8 call package and you want to add 5 more, this is your chance to do that as well. We've got some people that have been doing that. This is really what it's about. I think one of the interesting things for me, and Tracy, I think you've seen this too, is that students come to these sessions and they say, oh, I'm doing FLA. I'm writing the way I'm supposed to. And then you look at their writing and there are elements of it that are correct, but it's really not entirely what we're looking for, right?
That's right. And there's really no way to know that unless you work with one of the coaches, which is why we are giving you the opportunity for level up. Because I think one of the things we're going to be doing in level up is telling you whether you're on track or whether we think there's something that you need to be doing between June 15th and the exam date to get ready for it. That's a good opportunity for us to get a measurement of where you are on your writing, where you are on your mind maps, where you are on your understanding of selective intuition, for example, and MPT writing. Yes, I think this opportunity to have an expert looking at your writing is unmatched anywhere else. Now, I'm going to tell you, with 5 sessions, we're going to have to bear down. You're going to be expected to do quality work. We're not going to want to see essays that are done at the last minute because that's not going to help you. So we're going to be hard on you. I hope that you understand that's in your best interest, but I'm just warning you now, this is not lackadaisical type of thing. Level up is going to be pretty in your face. And these 5 sessions are going to have to be good, hard, solid work.
I think it bears repeating what Amanda said. There is plenty of time to get through all of these. If you're studying significantly, by significantly 20 hours a week or more, you're able to get through this without any problem. We've got plenty and plenty of time. So don't say to yourself, it's all over, right? Because it's not. And what we unquestionably know from the February exams is applicants need all the help they can get. This is not a hospitable environment for bar takers. That's why we're offering these additional resources.
We just had somebody on this podcast right now just say they're going to sign up for 5 for 5. So yay to you.
Okay.
And we have a lot of slots, but they're going to fill up a different way.
I think they will too. So we're excited about it. Let us know if you've got questions, if you need help, and then we'll get you started. As soon as you order that, you can get your first call in right away.
I'm starting individual work with students who want to work on taming their inner critic. If you were at the virtual boot camp, you heard about superego and we explored that. We've had some interesting follow from some students who have purchased the book that we were talking about and have been doing some work on their inner critic. This is something that I've taken on as a passion, and I think it's so applicable to you all as bar takers that Jackson and I felt it would be good to offer this as a workshop. If you're interested in it, send us an email. We'll tell you what the various options are. But it probably would be about 4 hours of total work is what I'm thinking right now.
I think that people hear the word superego and they think this is going to be Freudian psychology. It's not. This is really that voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, that you can't pass. And causes you to give up when you see the first hard essay question or the first MBE that seems squirrely. And this is consistently the thing that just blows people up, isn't it?
It's
From
very,
themselves.
it's the parasite that is always banging at you and will teach you how to calm that down.
Yeah. And so it's really a terrific series. And Tracy and I have been doing a lot of work on it. Man, you've been watching it and seeing as we did boot camp and some other pieces. Pretty weird, isn't it? To start to think there's really this thing that lives in our brains that tells us that we're not good enough.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we actually talked about this a lot in my group coaching as well, working
Yeah.
through that, the doubt and also the self blame, like just blaming ourselves, especially if you've already been disappointed once, twice, three times for the bar exam.
Yeah. And sometimes people say, I want you to tell me more about the rule against perpetuities. We got plenty of course. There's hundreds of pages and hundreds of hours of lecture going through all of those substantive subjects. We don't want to skip those, but you can know all of that stuff. And if you walk into the exam and your super ego starts pounding on you and telling you that you have no business being there, it's not worth anything, right? All of that stuff goes away. So I think it's got to be a balance. You got to be looking at both of those. So we're excited about that program, Tracy. I think it's going to be a great one, and we will get the details out to everybody in the next few days. All right, let's get to some student questions, and we'll talk about Tracy's lunchbox. First question we got, student said, can you tell me which section of the online course has the essay question? I've looked, but I can't find it. That was a head scratcher to me. There are essay questions throughout all of the courses. The first place to look would be the digital books. That's in lesson 1.2 everywhere. And you will see essay question books. And they have, as we've said earlier, not only questions divided by subject, but also by exam date. And they have hundreds and hundreds of sample and model answers. So that's the first place to look. Second place is that in every subject, there is an essay component. You will see the essay questions baked into that topic. So if you're studying torts, you will see the essay questions for torts in that unit. So I think where this student got messed up, part of the reason I want to use this question is that I suspect that what they're doing is they're jumping around and cherry picking assignments, and that's why they don't see it. You really want to follow through all the way and not skip steps. I think that's one of the concerns is that people start saying, well, I'm going to do this assignment over here and this assignment over here. And in doing that, they miss out on things or don't find things. There is a reason for the order of assignments in the course. And absent some really good cause, you should be following through that step by step. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I think there's a big potential to mess yourself up if you cherry pick and move around. These things have been thought through very carefully. I'm relatively new within the last year and a half, and sometimes I have to ask Jackson how to find things. So don't feel bad if you forget how to do that. You can just send a quick email and we can straighten you out really quickly on how to get to those things. Jackson scratches his head because he lives and breathes this, but we understand there's a lot there and we'll help you get to where you need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to make sure you can find everything you need. I had another question from a student wanting to know how many hours does it take to complete the California bar review course? And the answer in all of our courses is about 250 to 300 hours. That's the time it takes to do the reading, to watch the lectures, to do the question practice, and then to do the review at the end. So if you're trying to figure out where you are and where you need to be, or do you have enough time to begin your studies now? The answer is yes. Think about that 250 hours as a all-encompassing number. That's everything. It's not just the first review. And I think one of the things that surprises people, Amanda, is that it's not more hours, right? That I think there's an expectation that it should be double that number or maybe more.
Again, like you're just hitting on so many things we're talking about in group coaching. Somebody was talking about big box bar review and how they just kept telling them, just put in more hours, just keep studying, just more hours, more hours. And they were fatigued, the student was saying, and a lot of people resonated with that. And they were like, and I did it. I did it fatigued. I did what they said. I just kept putting in more and more time, doing more and more questions, and I didn't come out with the outcome either time that they wanted. I think especially for students who are non-traditional takers, who are working, who don't have the luxury of having gone right from law school to the exam who have other families, or maybe they're taking the bar 10 years later. It's just different. And I think it's important to recognize that stress is stress. Everything is going to fatigue you, even if it's a good stress. So it's quality over quantity. There's a certain amount of quantity you really should do. It's not like you can do nothing. As Tracy said, you still have to be serious. You still have to get there. But it doesn't require as much as you might hear on Reddit or in other books, or even at the end of your law school coursework, when your professors would tell you, this is going to be your life and you're going to spend every waking minute doing this. That's just not the case. It doesn't need to be the case.
Yeah, it really doesn't. And we want you to have some perspective in doing these things, right? And being in touch with what you need to do and how to do it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you. I think that covers that pretty well. Along the same lines, and again, these are representative questions. We get a lot of the same questions each week. A student said, I want your guidance on how to approach the review of the subjects. I'm working a full-time job and it's hard to read all the outlines. That is a pretty common response that we get. And I had a couple of responses back to the student, and I'll throw it out to Tracy and Amanda as well. First thing I noticed was that particular student was the photo reader. And I said, are you photo reading? I think the answer was no, they weren't. If you're photo reading, it takes about 10 minutes to read an entire 150-page outline. I know that sounds wild and crazy, but that's really all it takes. Then you use a couple of hours to start putting together your mind map from that material. And then you keep building on your mind map as you're going. And so you really don't need a lot of time for the reading, particularly if you're a photo reader. Now, if you're not a photo reader, then what I suggest is that you skim or you read very quickly, because the brain will give you some of that photo read capacity, even though you're not a photo reader, word for word, sentence for sentence. There's just no advantage to that. Amanda, you've taken the bar on the last couple of years. You can speak to that as well, right? Detailed, laborious reading doesn't really get you much further.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And I think some people get stuck on these little details, or thinking they need to read every little thing, or know, like, Googling things, falling down the rabbit hole, looking for all these answers. Now's probably not the time to be doing that. Stay up here and jump into the practice, add to your mind map, stick to those kind of things.
And every time I tried to cram for an exam, it never worked out. And panicking, which is what that is, it's a form of panic. Say, oh my gosh, now I've got to read every word in here and I've got to cram it in my head. It's not going to stay in your. What I would say to this student is, you have resources and tools here. Why aren't you using them? Why don't you sign up for Level Up and come in and have Jackson work with you for an hour on your photo reading? Or sign up and have me look at your mind maps and see what you're doing here. And reset you, retool you for this last 6 weeks or so. Use the resources that are here. They're here for a reason.
I've learned over the years that when I get this kind of question, the answer the student typically wants is, they won't be here for me that it's okay not to read the outlines. I'm not going to say that to you. Okay? In this bar exam environment, you cannot, in my view, just get away with lectures and question practice. And I know all three of us get this question all the time. Can't I just practice questions? Won't that be enough? No, it's a three-legged stool. You need the reading, the lectures, and the question practice. Putting all that together with mind mapping and photo reading and some of these other tools, that's what makes the course effective. When you start cutting out pieces, you really reduce the effectiveness. And again, I think in this environment, that's not a wise strategy. So would encourage you to do the reading. And if you've got to cut back a little bit at work, if maybe you go to a 4-day work week instead of 5, or you get off a couple hours early in the afternoon, or we've got students that just stay after work so that they don't have to commute home right away in traffic, and they do some studying at the office. So there are ways around this. I think it's a question of how badly you want it, right? If you want it badly enough, you're going to find a way, even with a full-time job. So the other thing I will say, just to be clear, we never advocate that people quit their jobs to study. That is not what we're asking you to do. That's one of the advantages of this course. Next question, Tracy, I know you were working with a student to review some mind maps, and the student said, I'm interested in working on that a little bit further. They should certainly come to Level Up. That would be a great place to do that. They said, what coaching package do you recommend so I can work with you one-on-one with mind maps and some of this detailing? Would you suggest to them?
This is the student, I think, that just chatted in that they're going to sign up for the
No.
for
Okay.
That's probably the best, the most overall good thing to do, because you can work on mind maps for part of the time. You can work on essays for part of the time. You can work on your inner critic work part of the time. You can divide it up as you feel is necessary.
Isn't it amazing how far we've come, Amanda? I can see your brain going, hey, I didn't get to do all these things.
I love seeing all the stuff that we have available for the students, and it's such important work to address that. And again, I think that there are underlying biases and inequities in the bar exam that can cause students from different backgrounds to not do as well unless we address this, which no other courses are addressing. You received your whole life that you don't belong in the bar. That might not be true for all of you here, but it's true for a lot of the students I meet with one-on-one resonate with that. Either they're differently abled or come from a background where they're the first lawyer in the family, like me. You weren't, if your dad didn't work at a law firm or no one in your family did, you didn't grow up your life necessarily with everyone telling you, like, you're going to take over the family firm or you're going to be great at this, right? Earn this and you deserve this. So you have to fight all those things and also overcome a lifetime of not being told that. And no one else addresses that. And I think it's great that we're doing that in a community together. And also our in-group coaching, our students really help each other, right? Because they all speak that same language and they help each other overcome those things. So you're not alone in it, those feelings.
Yeah. And just in full transparency, I'm actually the third member of my family to get a law degree. I knew that was coming.
You have the opportunity to start a legacy if you're the first one. And
Yeah.
I was the first one. And now we have a sister who's a lawyer, Jackson. Then we have two brothers-in-law, lawyers. We
But-
have an opportunity to be the legacy setter. And
Yeah.
Got to start somewhere, Tracy.
that's right. I
Right.
can't wait to see what your legacy ends up being, Amanda.
All right. Couple quick questions. We'll finish up and then we'll get to Tracy. Well, we had a student that said, I'm retaking the UBE in February of 2025. You suggest that I do light studying until about October. I think that's probably about right. I do think it's useful to kick it up maybe in September rather than in October. Student said, I'm thinking of doing an essay every other day and then mind mapping and photo reading until I go back full in October. That's a lot of work to do. I think an essay every other day is probably overdoing it a bit. But I like the idea of mind mapping. I like the idea of photo reading. And I think what I would say to most people is we get through the July exam. August tends to be a pretty quiet month. Everybody kind of catching their breath. And then we get into September. And I think that's the time when I would probably start kicking it up a little bit.
I have a floating light bulb here. 5 for 5 is a perfect opportunity for you right now to come in and learn FLA style. So that when you start kicking up in September with your essay, you are going to be already writing in FLA style.
Okay, that's right.
Perfect opportunity for you. For anybody that's going to be taking the February bar, this is an excellent opportunity. You can buy them now if you want, and you can hold on to them until August or so, but we're not going to offer this all the time. So this is a great opportunity for you to learn that style before you dig in.
Absolutely. Great comment. Last student question I want to cover today, which we talk about almost every week. Students said, is the material I previously purchased from Celebration Bar Review still available, or do I need to repay for the course again? We are the only bar review that I'm aware of that gives a lifetime pass guarantee and unlimited postponement and deferral without a fee and without a reason. So the answer is yes. Course is available for you. You just have to let us know. Students said, I want to make sure I have the resources I need to pass the exam before I pay the examiner's fee. Absolutely, you have the resources. But again, as we've been talking about, this is the time to add those tools, level up, 5 for 5, photo reading, taming your inner critic. There's so many things here that you could add.
Amanda's class on MPT writing, class
Absolutely.
on time management, calming the chaos. There's all kinds of things. Calming your inner critic. Those are
Yeah.
all available to you now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Tracy, let's talk about the lunchbox. This is an interesting one because I remember the lunchbox from our family, but I don't know if that's where you're going or not. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks. Our dad used to make our lunches for school. And Like most kids, we were into peanut butter and jelly. That was our idea of the perfect lunch. He insisted on putting a piece of lettuce in between our peanut butter and our jelly and our sandwich. And of course, that was the first thing to be discarded out of our lunchbox when we got to school. Never put tuna fish in my lunchbox. I wasn't going to eat that. The other thing my dad loved was Spam. He loved Spam sandwiches. And he kept trying to get us to love Spam also. That didn't work. When we get into the cafeteria and you're looking around lunchtime and you're looking in other people's lunch boxes, what did you bring today? What do you have? And then the trading starts and the judging starts and the ranking starts and the ranking down starts. When you see people that have money to go buy a bunch of dessert or to buy pizza on Fridays, you didn't have that money. What you had was your peanut butter, lettuce, and jelly sandwich, maybe a few chips, and he always put a piece of fruit in there too. I thought about this the other day because actually I was having a conversation with Jackson about not letting other people put things in your lunchbox and not having to accept things from their lunchbox in yours. I think some of the things that may be happening in our group coaching call is that some students may be thinking that other students have a better lunchbox and they'll have more goodies in their lunchbox. And I think that'd be a misperception because when it comes right down to it, nobody was, nowadays they all leave when they go to McDonald's or whatever. At that time, nobody was going out and having a gourmet meal at lunch, right? We had half an hour. We had a sandwich. Amanda, what did you get? What was in your lunchbox?
It was like whatever was being served that day. Even sometimes if I was doing school lunch, whatever they decided for me was in the lunch was in the lunch.
That's right. And that's what you got, right? That's what I think big box bar reviews are about. You just get whatever they're serving that day and you get
Yeah.
whatever is in that lunchbox. But you have an opportunity to pack your own lunchbox. You have an opportunity to decide how many things you're going to eat today. This looks like a yummy, healthy lunch, right? It's got some kind of lemon chicken and some noodles and a little salad and some rice. It's nice. And maybe that is group coaching on one corner, and maybe it's 5 for 5 in another corner. Maybe it's level up. Maybe it's working with Jackson on photo reading. Maybe it's working with Amanda on time management. You have the ability to pack your own lunch and to bring your own lunchbox. And it doesn't really matter what somebody else's lunchbox. So we're encouraging you to bring your own lunch, to fill it with the things that are going to be healthy for you and are going to help you pass this exam. Don't worry about what's in everyone else's lunchbox. And for whatever, don't accept anybody else's Spam sandwich.
I love that.
I remember the lettuce, Tracy. Yeah, that was anyway. I think it's a great analogy. I hope that's helpful for you as you start to think about what's coming along. Sometimes I get the comment from students, they say, "Oh my God, it just feels like you're trying to sell me more stuff." I want to just be really clear. That's really not our intention. What we're trying to do is to innovate and find the resources that will help you pass the bar. That's really our overriding concern for everything. And then we try to price them in a fair way so that they're affordable to you. But I have seen enough in the last 10 years to recognize that what it used to take to pass the bar is not sufficient anymore. And so that lunchbox, not only what's served up to you, but frankly, if we're taking that analogy a little bit further, it's a lunchbox that's really missing a lot of nutrients, a lot of things you probably need today. And so we're really trying to make sure that you've got everything you need to be able to be successful on these exams. And if there's something you feel like you need that you're not getting from us, let us know. We are, let us get that. But we do want to know, no spam. We do not spam our students. So but tell us. We're delighted to try and come up with, and very often our best offerings are the things that people have asked us to do. So there you go. We're into it now. It's June. We're starting to really dig in. And if you have not started your studies, this is the time to get underway. I'll say it again. There is enough time to get everything done. There's no reason to panic. but this is the time to start your metaphorical study engine and get ready to go. Thank you, Amanda, for being here as always. Glad to have you with us. Fun to chat. And we will be back next Wednesday. And don't forget 5 for 5, Level Up, and the coaching programs. And let's get everybody's lunchbox filled up. Okay? See you all next week. Take care, everybody.